If you start with a template, it's relatively easy to build up landscape drawings. If we wanted to create a design for a constructed wetland in the rear yard behind a house, here's the house down at the bottom. The space is about 13 metres by 17 metres that we've got to play with, and over on the side are some symbols. A constructed wetland will take water into some sort of gross pollutant trap, so let's pick it up. So we can just select it, then click in the middle of it and drop it down in an appropriate place in the garden. So logically, any grey water would flow from the bathrooms and laundry into that gross pollutant trap. I'll then unselect all. From there, it will go into some sort of energy dissipation area. So we've got to build that, and we'll put that relatively near to the gross pollutant trap. After we've done the energy dissipation, that means if we get a rainstorm or we discharge a lot of water, we need to disperse it and spread it before it erodes any of the immediate environment. I'll unselect all. Now, from that energy dissipation area, we'd want to have a zone which would make the water flow through rocks and a vastly increased surface area, have plants planted in gravel, and so on. So we've got some sort of vegetation banding system. So here it is. I can just select it and drop it and position it where I think it should go in the garden. Maybe we want to keep everything to the extreme left, because in this zone here we want to reserve for some play area for children. So we'll tuck all this over to one side. And finally, we want the piece de resistance of our design. We want some sort of open water. So we'll click on our open water symbol and pop it in. So now we've got a design for a constructed wetland. We have to have some piping system, PVC piping system that runs, and you might well have a block over here or a symbol over here that we can simply copy and place down there, and another one there and another one here, and we'll have to rotate that one. So we'll finish. Let's just rotate this pipe. We can click on the end and do that. That's joined the vegetation area. For this one here, we'd want to move it. You can move it by clicking in the middle. Whoops, that's doing an extension of the shape of the rectangle. So I need to move it approximately in position and shorten it by doing that and then moving it back again. You can see I'm doing all of the editing here, unselect all, by simply grabbing objects and moving them around. And I'll leave that pipe sitting there at the moment. We can also change the stacking order if we want the pipe to be below the area water. It would go in near the bottom and ooze in there. You might want to put the piping below the blue area, and to do that you could select the blue area here, the symbol, and sorry, I don't want to do that. I'll unselect all. What I want to do is to move this one to the back. So that's done with tools and draw order and send it to the back. So now the pipe's underneath. But I digress. Let's zoom extents again. Here's our wetland. Now we might want to think about shading. We'd probably like our open water area to be relatively heavily shaded. So what we'll do is drag a symbol for, say, a taller tree, one with a reasonably large canopy diameter, and we'll put it in place so we get some sort of shading, and I'll unselect all. That brings me to thinking about north aspect. Here's a little indicator for our north symbol, so we could pop it into the design and think about the direction of north. So let's imagine north is at some sort of angle like so. I'll just zoom in. So there's our north symbol. So the direction of north is out to the right at a slight angle. And if we wanted north, south, west, east, so the easterly sun comes up here, the northerly sun is coming from the right and in, so we might want to put a little more shading in. So let's pick another shade-like plant and pop that one in there. Now we can begin to populate our design with maybe some smaller species. So I'll select this one and pop that one in, and we'll zoom in and we'll right click and copy. We'll just stamp several copies of that symbol in. That might represent some sort of tree fern or similar sort of plant that will go in there. Now we might want to plant, you might want to indicate some sort of planting in those vegetation bands, and you can do that by zooming in here on these little tiny symbols, and we could copy one of those, mark a point there, and come over here. You can see you have to practice those zoom skills, and we can stamp some symbols in. So let's put one in like so, and we'll finish. And we get it near where we want it to be, and we can copy it from there and put copies of that symbol through there. Now it just happens to be much the same colour as our solid indicator there, and we might want to pick another symbol. So can you see you can stamp your design in and around that area. I'll unselect all again, and we can get rid of that particular sample. To put paths into the design is relatively straightforward. Let's take an easy one. We might want a path from this pergola area running out to into the zone through here. So it's just draw a line, and you know how to snap to an end point. So we'll snap to this end point through here, and we'll turn polar on. That means press this little indicator, and that forces the line to go horizontally up. And we might then want to go at an angle of say 45 degrees across here, and then perhaps some sort of small zone as a, not exit from there, as a little pad where we can observe the animals in the pond. Now what we would want to do, that's going to be a path, and we're going to offset that path, the distance from here to here. So I'll just zoom in here, and we'll use the tools and distance. We'll measure how far it is from there across to there, and that gives us 1780, which is a nice wide path. But what we can then do is go to modify and offset, select the object to offset. That's that particular one. We want a through point, so I right click now and pick a distance, and that distance should be that 1780. So we type 1780 and then click. Now we've got our offset. We can pick this one, and now we've got our path running from here, going at 45 degrees and having a little observation pad area there. I'll exit from there. We want to clean up that angle through there, and that's done by modify and fillet. So we pick the fillet option, the first object to fillet, that one there, the second one to fillet there, and that squares everything up. So we have a path zone running through there. We have techniques to put patterning through here, but I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd pattern a small area just and maybe a notation that this is going to be, say, brick paving. I'll leave it to you to develop the design further, but you might want to start adding some text, and that's done by draw text, choose single line text for most notation, and just type in the contents. Say we want to label the grass area, which I've defined with an ellipse. So if we say OK, pop the text in, I'll roll in a little, and then just by indicating, you can just move the mouse to show the height of the text, and then whatever angle you want. If you have polar on, you'll be able to snap to horizontal. When you select the text, you can look over here in the properties box and just see its actual height, and you'll see it's 128. So we might want to make that, say, 150 units, and that will give us a nice even number. Looking at it now, you might argue it's still just a little bit small. If you click on the Layout tab, everything should appear on the Layout tab, and I think I would increase the size of that text. But I hope that gives you some idea of how easy it is to create landscapes designs just by dragging and dropping symbols into your design.